Yo, what's good, hoop heads? What it do, what it do? Hoop Head Fantasy League, man. We back for another week 11, man. We grinding into this season. Team trying to grind their way into the playoffs. But that's what it is. So, man, we got this man, George, man. Me and my friend were just talking about how George Karl and Phil Jackson should just make a DVD, man, just talking shit about the NBA and its players, man. That DVD will be a classic DVD, man. They should just, him and George Karl should have a drink of vodka or something, or rum, and maybe smoke a cigar or even some marijuana, because Phil Jackson talking about he want to make it legal in the league, you know what I'm saying, 100% officially, which will be pretty raw. But yeah, man, Phil Jackson and George Karl, man, they should get together, man, do a DVD, man, talking a bunch of shit about players in the league. That would be an interesting classic DVD. But man, we got, who else we got? Yeah, we got that situation, man. That George Karl, man, been going ham, man. And I saw that Kenyon Martin went ham back on George Karl, man. He shitted on him, man, all over his Twitter. Kenyon Martin shitting on his former coach. Said George Karl was the worst coach ever, and he's a horrible person. Man. But yeah, man, I see that's what it is, man. But yeah, man, let's get into this week 10 review, week 11 preview, man. So for week 10, before we get into the preview, man, my squad won the NFL Fantasy Championship, man. We won by 2 points, man. And shout out to the high scorer. The high scorer on he dropped 31 in the NFL Championship for me. Devontae Freeman was second Florida State player. Former Florida State player dropped 28 for me to help my squad win a fantasy championship by only two points. And my squad beat Buckingham squad, man, by 2 points to win the NFL Fantasy Championship. And I won some money too. So that's what it is, man. I only do fantasy league that's money involved, man. I don't do none of the nonsense. Only money is involved. If money's on the table and involved, bets on the line, then I'm in, man. In fantasy football, fantasy basketball. As long as the league is real, you feel me? So that's what's popping, man. So yeah, man, shout out to Buckingham, man. Your team, man, came pretty close, man. You would have, man, if his kicker would have got one field goal, an extra field goal. I think he did miss a field goal, actually. Monday night, he did miss a field goal. If he would have made it, man, I possibly could have lost the matchup, but I barely won by 2. Barely escaped. No, my squad was the number 1 seed going against the number 3 seed in NFL. It was a 10-team league. It was 5 players. It was 5 owners from this in an NBA fantasy league in our NFL fantasy league. So we had 5 owners. It was a half of the league. So it was 10 teams. Half of the league was from this NBA fantasy league. And I met up with one of the kids who I actually met up with in the championship. The year I won NBA Fantasy a few years ago, year 4, I met him up in NFL Fantasy Championship, man, and I won, man, even though it was barely, man, I won the NFL Fantasy Championship, man. So that's what it is. So now I gotta focus on winning this NBA Fantasy Championship now. So that's what it is. That's what's popping, man. So yeah, shout out to Michael Thomas, man. He dropped 31 for me, my high score NFL fantasy. I had I had Kaepernick at quarterback. He only dropped 11 for me, which was all I needed in the final game. I had Kaepernick at quarterback. I had DeMarco Murray. He shitted on me. I had Devontae Freeman. He shitted on me like the last 2 weeks, but the rest of my team made up for it. I had Ezekiel Elliott, but I had to sit him because he was resting his last game, and I know Buckingham had to sit Antonio Brown, one of his top players, because he was like kind of resting on the thing for Pittsburgh in the last game. So that worked out evenly, you know. But yeah, I had who else I had? I had Steve Smith. I had Jordan Reed at tight end. And who else? I had the Patriots defense for the most of the time, and for all of the playoffs. And that's what it is. So I beat the team whose team name is D'Angelo's Goons. He just made the trade for D'Angelo Russell, his boy. He got him. He traded away Drew Holiday. So man, we had 3 interesting trades so far in the league. We had, and all of them were like point guards involved. We had the first trade few weeks back was who was it? Was it Rondo for Steven Adams or something like that? No, I think it might have been Jeremy Lin. Yeah, that was the second one. Jeremy Lin for Maurice Harkless, small forward. So that was a point guard involved in that trade. Point guard for a small forward. Then we had a trade for who else was? Yeah, Rondo for Steven Adams. That was another trade that went down, man. That was a point guard for a big man. Then we had the trade that just happened, D'Angelo Russell for Drew Holiday, so a point guard for a point guard. So man, we had all point guards and all starting point guards involved in trades pretty much. For a small forward, for a point guard, and for a big man. All over for a point guard trading, man. So that's what it is, man. I think the trade deadline the trade deadline, it goes until the last week before playoffs, pretty much. But once playoffs come, trade deadline will have arrived, and trade no longer can trades be made, but you can still pick up whatever's left in free agency. But yeah, that's what it is, man. We got the week 10 review. So yeah, we had That's Cute versus Crispy Fantasy Bitches, and Crispy Fantasy Bitches got the upset, man. One of the worst records in the league got the upset over That's Cute, who had one of the top records in the league. He barely upset him though. He was 6'4". He won 6'4". Crispy Fantasy got the upset 6'4". But yeah, it's still gonna take a lot for Crispy Fantasy to bounce back, man. He gonna have to get some blowout wins to bounce back. So then we got Buckingham versus Team Bell, and they were even, man. They were tied up 5-5, and so Buckingham still 10 games above 500, and Team Bell still like about 6 games below 500. So yeah, man, a team with a losing record and a team with a winning record, they tied up, and that's what it is. How many ties we had, man? So that's 1 tie so far. Then we had Team Johns versus D'Angelo's Goons. Now, since he got D'Angelo on he traded for D'Angelo, he changed up his team name to his Laker kid. And I have a rule. I can't have any Lakers kids on my team. That won't happen. A Laker kid on my team, you won't see a Laker kid on my roster, man. But yeah, Team Johns versus D'Angelo Goons, and Team Johns got the slight W, 6-4, and it's still slightly above 500, close to the playoff house door I don't know if he's inside or outside the playoff door though. I have to verify the standings for that. But D'Angelo Goons definitely far from the playoff house right now, man. He definitely gonna need some blowout wins in the second half of the season to catch up and try to realistically get in the playoff house this season. He usually makes the playoffs every year. So, but yeah, man, D'Angelo's Goons, man, he was the manager of the Fantasy Football League. And he didn't update the league page or nothing. None of that. So, and I had to collect money from a kid in this league for him because he slept on it. As a league manager, man, he was sleeping, man. He didn't. The league page still says what it said before the draft, before the NFL fantasy draft, man. That's how sleep this kid was, and that's why he ain't deserve to win. You know, that's why I had to. That's why I had to oust his squad in the playoffs in the fantasy because I beat his squad because it was a 4 playoff matchup and I faced the squad first. He had the 4 seed, he had the 1 seed, I had to oust the squad, man. And in fantasy basketball, he's struggling, man, because he ain't do what he was supposed to do as a league manager, man. He ain't try to be one of the realest league managers. I should say he never updated anything, but yeah, the kid will be PayPaling me some funds, so that's what's good, man. Shout out to D'Angelo Goons, and we probably I think we match up maybe next weekend. I think we're gonna put a bet on that, man, because we usually bet in our head-to-head matchup. Shout out to that kid for helping me win some more money, you know, as usually he does. So that's what it is, man. Then we have Boogie Nights versus Freedom Junkies. And Freedom Junkies barely won 6-4 over Boogie Nights. Both of them are above 500 in the playoff house. Boogie Nights might be he getting closer to the playoff house door, or he might be outside the door right now. But he's pretty close, you know, to the playoff house doors. Freedom Junkies, you know, trying to get a more comfortable spot in the playoffs, in the playoff house right now. So then we had Team Shit on You versus Team Alexander. And Team Alexander barely won 6-4, man. It was a lot of 6-4 matchups, man. Wow, this is the most 6-4 matchups ever in one week. So yeah, Team Alexander won 6-4, and Team Shit on You, man. His teams continue to shit on themselves, man. Near the bottom of the league. A former 2-time champion. He was the champion of the first 2 years we was in the league for money, man. Not Team Shit on You has fallen off, man. I don't know what's up with his squad, man. But yeah, shout out to that kid, my former roommate, Team Shit on You. And then we had Team Colquitt versus Dub Nation, man. Both teams had losing records going into the matchup, and Team Colquitt had, Dub Nation had a more worse losing record, but Team Colquitt got the W 7-3. And it's now only 10 games below 500. And Dub Nation is about close to around 20 or 30 games below 500. So he would definitely need blowout wins to come back and make a push for the playoffs, man, in the second half. Team Colquitt, he could make a push. You know, he could have an easier time in making a push if he could get W's for the playoffs. But yeah, then we had Look on the White Side versus These Nuts. And Look on the White Side barely won 6-4. He got the upset, man. And he got the upset over These Nuts, barely 6-4. So that's what it is, man. But These Nuts still near the top of the league. Look on the White Side still close to the playoff house door right now. And people ready to yank him out, you know. people like Boogie Nights, Team Johns possibly. But yeah, that's what it is, man. And alright, then we had the game of the week, man. My Squad versus Lionheart Snoop Lion, man. The two-time defending repeat champion. And My Squad dropped the game, man. We lost 4 or 5 and we tied in one category, man. We tied in 3-pointers, man. My Squad, you know, definitely didn't bring the A game, and we definitely go do better. But yeah, My Squad still, you know, near the top of the league. It's funny though, cause Lionheart Snoop Lion, we do rematch, man. I did set up a rematch with you for sure, cause everybody plays 2 teams twice. So this year, you know, I had to play the defending champion twice. And, you know, I had to go against Team Brown twice because that kid loves to help me win money in personal bets on sports more than anybody else. So I had to put Team D'Angelo's goons, McTarget's goons, whatever. Had to face him twice. So that's what it is, man. Lionheart Snoop Lion, I rematched with you, so it's all good. You barely got the W, man. You in the playoff house, but I still got a more comfortable spot in the playoff house right now. So that's what it is, man. That was the game of the week. So now we got the week 11 preview, man. Let's see what it's looking like. Let's see what's popping for this week of fantasy hoops, man. What the matchups looking like. What's popping? So we got Team Bell versus D's Nuts, man. Matching up this week. D's Nuts near the top of the standings versus Team Bell. A few games below 500, trying to creep up towards the playoff house, man. So that's gonna be an interesting matchup, man, to see who comes out on what the final score gonna be of that, man. Who gonna try to get the W on that and improve their record, man. Or if they tie, try to keep the same record. So I don't know, man. Last week we only had we had several 6-4 matchups. How many ties we had last week? We only had one tie. But everything else was 6-4, and then there was a 1-7-3 matchup. Wow, it was no blowouts for the past week, man. So, then we got Team Alexander versus Look on the White Side. 2 teams that's currently in the playoff house right now facing off. Both teams. And we go see, man, it's gonna be an interesting matchup. Their records are pretty similar. Team Alexander is only like two games ahead of them, or maybe even 1 game. And yeah, that's gonna be interesting, man, to see out of those 2 teams who in the playoff house currently, who trying to get a more comfortable spot or what, man. Or we go see, man, who trying to get a more comfortable spot in that matchup in the playoff house. Try to improve their record. Then we got Lionheart Snoop Lion versus Team Cold Quit. And both teams coming off of a W. And Team Cold Quit is Lionheart Snoop Lion is in the playoff house. Even though he not as comfortable as he probably want to be in the comfortable as he could be in the playoff house, or as he want to be. And then Team Cold Quit 10 games behind 500. I'm pretty sure he's looking for a 10-0 defeat, man, so he could get back to 500 and get closer to the playoff door. So that's what it is, man. That's gonna be an interesting matchup, man. Then we got Dub Nation versus Boogie Nights, man. And actually, Dub Nation, I got Dub Nation in the lead through Boogie Nights, my former roommate, my first roommate ever, man. So that's what it is, and they facing off, man. And Dub Nation near the bottom of the standings right now, going against Boogie Nights, who's in a risky spot right now, in the close to the playoff house door, man. Whether he might be outside the door right now, man. He was in the playoff house for most of the season. I think he got pushed outside the door a little bit right now, the playoff house right now. So, but he might have his hand on the doorknob to open it back up and walk back in, man, if he's trying to beat Dub Nation, man. So that's what it is. Dub Nation, we gonna see if he could try to make a incredible comeback, man, from being at the bottom of the standings to coming back in the second half of the season, man. We gonna see, man. It's gonna be interesting to watch. We gonna see what's popping. Then we got Crispy Fantasy Bitches versus D'Angelo Goons. Used to be McTarget's Goons, but now he got his Laker kid. So D'Angelo's Goons versus Crispy Fantasy Bitches, two teams with records near the bottom of the standings, and both teams made the playoffs last year. Both owners made the playoffs last year and the year before, I'm pretty sure. And they usually make the playoffs every year, but this season, man, both of these owners are near the bottom of the standings right now, man. And they're matching up, and we go see, man, which owner trying to bounce back quicker, man, in the second half of the fantasy season. And then we got Freedom Junkies versus Team Shit On You. A rookie owner versus a veteran owner who won multiple championships, 2 championships back to back. So we got Freedom Junkies, man, who as a rookie owner has a lot better record than a veteran owner. So we gonna see if Team Shit On You try to get the upset, if he wants to try to turn his season around in fantasy from being near the bottom of the standings. But hey, somebody got to be at the bottom of the standings, man. And I guess Team Shit On You team is down there right now, but somebody got to be down there, man. So Freedom Junkies team is, near the top of the standings right now. Top 4, 5, 3, top 5, 4, 3. And yeah, that's gonna be an interesting matchup, man. We gonna see how that score ends up for this week. Then we got Buckingham versus Team Johns, man. And Buckingham got a slightly comfortable spot in the playoff house right now. Team Johns has a risky spot near the playoff house door, man. I think he might be outside on the doorknob with his boy Boogie Nights, possibly, man. At the playoff house, trying to take a step or two to walk in and pull or drag someone out, man. So we gonna see, man. It's gonna be an interesting matchup. Buckingham, I said, he probably been checking in the refrigerator of the NBA Fantasy Playoff House right now because he kind of comfortable right now. But we gonna see if he can keep up that comfort, man, with a win against Team Johns and keep Team Johns, on the outside looking in the playoff house. So that's what it is. Then we got game of the week, man. My Squad versus That's Cute, man. It's gonna be an interesting matchup, man. So we go see what goes down, what's popping, man. I see. Well, yeah, matchup gonna be fun, man. I'm trying to win 10-0, of course, man. So, game of the week, man. My Squad versus That's Cute, man. It's gonna be live. It's gonna be popping, man. We gonna see what's popping, man. So yeah, my squad trying to maintain one of the top seeds, and That's Cute trying to maintain a comfortable playoff spot in the playoff house. So we go see, man. Gonna be an interesting game. So yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, man, that's the wrap up for the Week 10 review, Week 11 preview. And I'ma holler. Peace.